Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the National Guard product number 92 NWHA. This is a door bottom is what it is, a U-shaped door bottom. I have one removed from the packaging here, so let's take a closer look at the actual item. And here is what it looks like outside of the packaging. So at first glance, obviously it's a door bottom that has a little longer substantially longer leg length on it. And that's a hallmark of National Guard. They have a full complement of door bottoms that have longer sides. And if you're looking for a door bottom of that sort of design, I would refer you immediately to their catalog, or directly to their catalog anyway. This is the 92W NWHA, which is going to feature those long sides, but also it's going to feature this somewhat belt and suspenders approach. When it comes to sealing the bottom of the door, you're going to have two rows of nylon brush insert. Then you're going to have a piece of neoprene synthetic rubber on the inside. Now, each of these inserts will perform a different role in the sense of what they're intended to help mitigate. So what I mean is, brush is very nice because it absolutely will give you a low closing force when it comes to the door closer, or the closing device if there is one. That's one. Number two, it does a phenomenal job. If my fingers were to represent an irregular floor surface, it does a phenomenal job at sealing over an irregular floor surface where, you know, that neoprene insert, if I put my fingers there, there's going to be gaps and spaces. Well, you bring your nylon brush, it fills that in really nicely. So that's number two. Number three, insects, it's known, don't like to land on bristle at all, so it's very effective. Now, maybe less of a thought when it comes to a door bottom, but the concept certainly pertains to astragals and other weather stripping. So it's good in all three of those instances. Now, this neoprene that's down here, I imagine that this is closed cell neoprene. They call it black neoprene. It doesn't smell like car tire, but it's not the sponge type either, so this would be very effective at sealing for water. Okay, closed cell neoprene is exceptional for that, where it's non-sponge like, really great for water intrusion. Sponge type neoprene would be very good for thermal, to retard the transmission of thermal property along with acoustical energy. So this is really a belt and suspenders approach to sealing the door quite effectively. And I'll tell you another thing why people buy these door bottoms with longer sides on them, taller sides, is they have some damage at the bottom of the door. Or they're trying to encapsulate a door that's beginning to fatigue, a steel door that's starting to rust, or a wood door that's just starting to really flare out at the bottom because it will be getting time to replace it. I've had people that have mitigated the problem at the bottom of the door, clean it up, sand it evenly, reseal it, maybe try to glue it and clamp it down, put wax paper on top of your whatever you're using to have your clamps make contact to, and then to the door. The wax paper prevents, like this, let's say you're using a piece of 2x4 to clamp down the door to be able to bring it back together a bit. The wax paper will keep the glue, which will seep out and through, and grabbing that 2x4, and then when you unclamp it, you pull the 2x4 off, and now you're taking some of the door with you. So wax paper is a great option. We used to buy it, 10 rolls at a time. Now, this is the A finish, which is a clear anodized aluminum, is what they have for us here. It's going to be also available in the dark bronze, and it's typical that the neoprene will run long. I just have it basically flush over here for purposes of this video, and you're going to want to get that installed, and then you'll trim it accordingly. Now you'll see that bristle that's here, okay, I can tug on that a little bit, that's nylon bristle with a steel banding or steel holder. So there's 4 items in here: aluminum, steel, neoprene, and nylon. When you're cutting this, assuming you probably have to cut it, be mindful that there's some steel there. You can cut everything else with a miter box saw, no problem. Your nice 80-tooth, 8-inch diameter miter box saw. You don't want to run that through those little pieces of steel. You want to tug those out and cut them with an end cutter. And they may be somewhat difficult to slide out, and that's because the factory intentionally crimps the side of these because you don't want the bristle to move I would think that they should put instructions. The bristle is going to slide out. You do need to crimp that a little bit. I've had people call me and say, hey, that's dented or that's damaged. It's not. They actually peen that down or crimp it to prevent that movement. And I would recommend that you do that. You get in there and just crimp over the one side of that ever so slightly so that you could reverse it if you ever needed to replace the inserts, which would be possible from the factory. Now, some dimensions. And there is an image down below that shows the dimensional properties of the item. And it's every bit of a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch taller than standard in terms of the face. That face is 2 inch. What they're really saying here, the dimension is 2 inch from where the bottom of the door will reside. That's the 2 inch part. So the overall face that you're going to see is going to be beyond that, about 2 1/4, as you can tell. Down to the bottom of the insert is going to be about 2 1/2, 2 5/8. Okay, so the important part is from the bottom of the door to the bottom of the neoprene. Looks like it's just heavy on 5/8. Sorry. Yeah, 11/16. So, what should your undercut be? No tighter than 5/8, I would think. Any tighter than that neoprene's really going to start to crimple, if that's a word, fold over unnaturally. The bristle will tolerate that a little bit better, but you don't want to have a substantial amount of resistance to the door closing. Let's say he had an undercut of 3/4 inch. Okay, maybe just tug this down a little bit. And you'll notice these screws are here at a stagger pattern, and that's, of course, normal. You don't want the screws, which are included, to bump into each other. They've included self-drilling screws with this. I can't say that that's standard across the board, and I would guess that it is not, but that's what the factory put in with this unit. So there you go. There is some supporting documentation down below, so let's switch to that right now and take a look. Okay, so this is the item that we're looking at here. Dimensional properties, nylon, neoprene and nylon brush. Fire rated up to 3 hour. Black neoprene and gray brush. Smoke and draft control. Okay, product brochure is here. This is where you'll see a smattering of different extended length door bottoms. Sometimes people will like this beveled sort of face. It perhaps may be more attractive, maybe more appropriate perhaps for a residential application, I suppose. A bit excessive, I would think, for just a hollow metal door on the back of a strip mall. However, it's there if you like that sort of look in the design. Other door bottoms are here, a variety of them, as mentioned earlier. This is a neat sort of concept when you're using it with a bump-up threshold, that you're going to be able to seal over here, which is what you like, but I want my line of defense out in front of the door as much as possible, and then that integrated drip cap is very effective at just simply helping run water away from the point of intrusion. More U-shaped door bottoms, etc. Okay. You can do notched fins on some of these door bottoms, notching this. You might say, well, why in the world would I want to cut notches in my seal? You wouldn't if it's a residential door or an exterior door and you're trying to keep out the elements. If it was a hotel room and you have to have a door bottom on those, you want a source of fresh air for your air handler, and that's why they would notch those. Okay, no daylight would really come through at all, obviously. Very handy product brochure showing you other options. A is the clear anodized finish. If you see the letter B, that's going to be for a gold anodized finish, and then DKB would be a dark bronze anodized. The 92N, this is not, here we go. So the 92 NWH is available in clear anodized and then dark bronze anodized as well. Now, the installation instructions are also linked here. And there's not a whole lot to say about this. Measure, cut to length, pre-drill your holes, attach, have at it, just typical stuff. Position seal on door with gasket compressed a 1/16 against the sill, and that's where I'm coming up with. If that was 11/16, I'm saying that your gap shouldn't be any tighter. Your undercut shouldn't be any less than 5/8. 7/64 hole to pre-drill those screws. Measure and cut to length. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. This is positive pressure rated. This does not carry any visual evidence of it being fire rated, but there is paperwork on file. So if you were doing a project where the inspector requested supporting documentation attesting to the listed and labeled nature, or at least the listed nature of the product, National Guard would most certainly produce that for you. Now, there's a link here to the manufacturer's page, and that page is going to allow us to review not only all of the National Guard products that we sell, okay, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. We also have a link to their Flood Shield catalog here, which is interesting. A relatively new line of basically aluminum plate that you drop into some, well, let's just take a look at it. Aluminum plate that you drop into side mounting bars in front of doors, maybe windows, and is obviously meant to help mitigate the gross intrusion of water all at once. I wouldn't say that these are waterproof, but they're not unusual. We don't sell very many of them, but we do occasionally get requests and orders for the material because they would like to have something in front of the door if, you know, in this weird, unpredictable world of weather patterns that we live in. So that's handy. The A117.1 is the Federal Published Accessible and Usable Buildings and Facilities Guidelines. Why have this here? Well, National Guard makes weather stripping, specifically thresholds, and this is the governing document as it pertains to how tall can a threshold be at a handicap opening. Everything is here for that. The height, the slope, you know, a very handy document, which is why I have it there. NGP has gotten lately into sliding door hardware as well, and they also have vision frames, louvers, glass, things of that nature. If you know the name National Guard at all, you most certainly likely do just because of their weather stripping. Let's switch up back to the camera view and conclude this video. And indeed, their name is ubiquitous in the industry for weather stripping. So whether you're a detailer, an estimator, an architect, an end user, a distributor, a contractor, the name National Guard is probably going to be familiar with you, and you'll probably find, you know, universal acceptance of it. Now, this product you can order in any length. We have these listed in the website from 2-foot to 8-foot lengths. You can order any size that you want. You might need to reach out to us to order the size. If you needed 12 feet of this, you'll have to, at this time at least, reach out to us and we'll enter the order for you. Lengths longer than 7 foot are costly to ship. Be mindful of that. If you have need for a custom length, and I would imagine that every order that you would place would be a specific length, indicate that in the comment field. Order the next longest piece and then put in that comment field the length you want them to trim that back to. You'll have to trim the inserts. That's going to be typical and normal, but it'd be nice to at least not have to cut the aluminum back. The point is National Guard is cutting this from long extrusion lengths anyway. Just let them cut it to 35 3/4 if that's what you need, rather than ordering 36. Okay, so they can happily oblige in that sort of regard. Very nice quality product. If you have any questions on the National Guard 92 NWHA clear anodized aluminum door shoe or any other National Guard product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.